Thanks. So I just wanted to talk to staff about the recently approved Quality of Teaching measures. Quality of Teaching measures was approved by Senate last year, and it was intended to allow the university to have a better understanding and confidence about the quality of teaching at the university. So it was decided that the university needed to have some way of measuring each staff's performance around the quality of teaching, and then to aggregate that and give an institutional view. So it's an important outcome for the university as a whole to see that the university is producing quality teaching. At the same time, it helps us understand and work with staff about development needs around teaching. So how we assess the quality of teaching, there's 7 measures. The first one is an alignment between the learning outcomes and the assessment activities. So the idea here is we could be teaching a given topic or in a given way very, very well, but if we have stipulated learning outcomes and we don't have assessment that matches that, then what we're measuring is not what which we intend. So we really can't do anything about quality of teaching if we're measuring the wrong thing. So that's the first important measure. The second measure relates to course pass rates. So we're not here thinking a high pass rates are necessarily good, but we are thinking that a very low pass rate gives us some cause for concern. So it's not a drive to try and drive pass rates high, but it's an intention to try and see that pass rates are at a normal, acceptable level for the university. And here we're using historical trend data rather than some aggregated increase in pass rates. The third one is student feedback on teaching, and this is done through the normal student course and teaching appraisal measures that we do routinely. A particular point here is that we want to make sure that student feedback is taken on board and actually used. So we want to see staff saying what student feedback they received, and importantly we want to say, well, what changes have you made to try and bring about improvements? This is what we call closing the loop. And there's 2 reasons for this. One is that student feedback is often desultory, it's often relatively weak. And the research has shown the reason it's weak is because students think we don't use the data. So it's an honesty thing. If we ask students for feedback, then we're honour bound then to make sure that we use that feedback to improve things. And the second reason is obviously this will bring about improvements. We've found in the past that sometimes we can't answer the students' feedback in the way that they intend, but we can at least explain why we can't make changes that they think they want. So for example, they might say they want a lot more face-to-face teaching. We might have good reasons why we can't do that, but we provide response to the feedback so students understand why we can't do that. So it's a transparency thing. The next one is observation of lessons, and this is a standard practice worldwide that we have trained staff, our peers, who come and sit in our classes and have a look at what happens in our class. And to try and get some transparency and fairness about this, we have a detailed checklist of items that have been found from international research to be important measures of teaching. And having done this myself, I know how valuable this can be. We all have our blind spots. I can be in a class thinking I'm doing a great job. I might be speaking too fast, or I might be not paying attention to the student questions or something like that. An independent evaluation of that helps me recognise any blind spots or any issues I might have. So it's a very valuable measure. The next one then is effective use of ICT to support learning and teaching. Everyone will be well aware that we're in something of a digital revolution. Our students are very much digi-natives nowadays, and the university wants to incorporate modern technologies to improve learning and teaching. So we're looking for evidence in staff portfolios as to how they're using ICT to improve teaching and learning. And that can be in a great variety of ways. It's a relatively open question. You can provide whatever evidence you think will help us better understand how you use technologies. And there's no one size fits all here. We're just looking to see how you do that. And the last one is staff professional development. A good teacher is constantly evaluating his or her performance and is engaging in professional development activities. And that can be quite a variety of different activities. I guess the most obvious one will be completion of the postgraduate certificate in tertiary teaching, but there can be other things: attending conferences, being involved in workshops, interacting with other peers, and reading good literature that helps you do this. And then finally we have another area where staff can nuance or explain their own situation. So we're conscious that sometimes staff are in a different situation from other staff. They might have particular administrative responsibilities, might have a particularly large class. There might be some particular factor which they think impacts upon their performance in all of those above areas I mentioned. And so this just gives staff an opportunity to contextualise their situation, to tell us what's going on there, and from there we can then look at the overall performance and see that yes, we're satisfied, things are going well, and we have a dedicated staff member who's very keen to ensure that he or she is providing quality teaching. So that's really a bit all about what I wanted to say. So I hope that your Eagle staff will go along with what we're trying to do here. It is in everyone's interest that we give quality teaching and that we're transparent and we're involved in professional development. So we're not doing this in some sort of punitive way to catch out staff. We generally want to see this as a way of helping staff develop their professional teaching competence so that they have a better teaching experience, the students have a better learning experience, and the university has a good measure of the quality of its teaching to convince its stakeholders and its sponsors that we are doing our best to provide the best quality education for the university within our resources constraints. Thank you very much.